I'm going to expose something that will likely stun you, something that 99% of older adults are completely unaware of, something that could be occurring inside your cardiovascular system at this very moment if you consumed eggs this morning. 2 eggs each day, that's all it requires. 2 eggs, and an unstoppable process initiates in your blood vessels, a process that cannot be reversed once it commences, a process that culminates in one destination: stroke, cardiac arrest, sudden death. I'm Dr. Richard Stone, and throughout my 30 years as a cardiac surgeon, I've performed operations on hundreds of older adults whose hearts were ravaged by plaque. Plaque so substantial I could physically remove it with my fingers. Arteries so obstructed that blood barely circulated. And when I speak to these patients following surgery, when I inquire about their eating habits, almost every single one states the identical thing. I maintain a healthy diet, eggs for breakfast, oatmeal, fruit, precisely as my physician advised. And they possess no understanding that those eggs, those supposedly healthy eggs, generated the plaque I just extracted from their arteries. But here's where it becomes complex. Here's why 99% of older adults remain confused. Because eggs aren't toxins, they're not tobacco products. Certain individuals can consume eggs daily and survive to 90 with clear arteries, excellent health. But other individuals possessing a particular genetic characteristic that impacts 25% of the population, those individuals cannot safely consume eggs, not even 2 weekly. And the majority of them have no awareness which category they belong to. They're consuming eggs without knowledge, hoping they're among the fortunate 75%. And one day, they're no longer fortunate. They're on my surgical table, heart arrested, arteries devastated, life suspended by a thread. By this video's conclusion, you're going to comprehend the unstoppable process that eggs initiate. You're going to discover which older adults can consume them safely and which ones cannot. And most critically, you're going to learn how to test yourself so you cease guessing and begin knowing. But first, you need to witness what transpires when someone in the high-risk category consumes eggs daily for years without awareness they shouldn't. Let me describe Richard's situation. Richard was 68 years of age, retired engineer, health-aware, studied all the nutrition publications, adhered to all the recommendations. For breakfast each morning, Richard consumed 2 scrambled eggs with whole wheat toast and fruit. Healthy breakfast, protein, fiber, vitamins, precisely what the nutrition specialists advocate. Richard felt satisfied about his eating habits. He was executing everything correctly. His physician approved. Eggs are acceptable, his physician stated. The cholesterol alarm was exaggerated. Dietary cholesterol doesn't influence blood cholesterol substantially. Consume your eggs. So Richard consumed his eggs every single morning, 2 eggs for 15 years. And he felt acceptable. No indications, no chest discomfort, no breathing difficulty, no warning. He exercised, walked 3 miles daily. Weight was satisfactory. Blood pressure was regulated. By every metric, Richard was healthy. Until one morning, he wasn't. Richard was in his garage maintaining his vehicle. Normal Saturday. He stood up from beneath the hood and experienced pressure in his chest. Not pain, pressure. Heavy, like someone was positioned on his chest. He couldn't obtain his breath. Assumed it was indigestion. Perhaps the coffee. He went inside, sat down, attempted to relax. The pressure intensified, began radiating to his jaw, down his left arm. His wife observed his face, pale, perspiring. She recognized it, contacted 911. Heart attack, massive. The left anterior descending artery, the widowmaker, was 95% obstructed. Emergency catheterization revealed 3 additional arteries severely obstructed. Richard required emergency bypass surgery, 4-vessel bypass. They opened his chest, arrested his heart, extracted veins from his leg, grafted them around the obstructions, preserved his life. But Richard's chest will never be identical. The sternum was severed in half, wired back together. Every breath causes pain for months. Every movement reminds him of what occurred. But that's not the most devastating aspect. The most devastating aspect is what the surgeon communicated to Richard following the surgery, after examining the plaque extracted from his arteries, after analyzing the type of cholesterol accumulation. Richard, the surgeon stated, you possess a particular type of plaque, cholesterol-rich plaque. Your LDL was dangerously elevated for years and we didn't recognize it. Your standard cholesterol test displayed 180, normal, but your LDL particle count, which we should have been measuring, was astronomically high, and dietary cholesterol from eggs made it catastrophically worse. If we'd discovered earlier, if we'd tested properly, this heart attack could have been avoided. Richard was devastated. But my physician stated eggs were acceptable, said dietary cholesterol doesn't matter. The surgeon shook his head. It doesn't matter for most individuals, but it matters enormously for approximately 25% of the population. Individuals who are hyper-responders to dietary cholesterol. You're one of them, and nobody tested you. Nobody knew. And those eggs you consumed every morning for 15 years constructed the plaque that nearly terminated your life. Here's what makes Richard's experience so devastating. Here's what should make you infuriated. The test that would have disclosed Richard's hyper-responder status cost $40. $40. One test would have demonstrated that eggs were hazardous for him specifically, would have spared him from 15 years of plaque accumulation, would have prevented a heart attack that cost $200,000 in medical expenses and nearly cost him his life. But nobody conducted the test. Nobody thought to verify. They just stated eggs are acceptable and presumed Richard was in the 75% who can safely consume them. But Richard was in the 25% who cannot. And now he possesses a scar down the center of his chest, titanium wires securing his sternum together, 4 bypass grafts that will eventually fail and require replacing, medications for life, permanent cardiac damage, all because nobody verified which category he was in before informing him eggs were acceptable. If this experience is making you realize you need to discover which category you're in, subscribe to this channel immediately because next week I'm disclosing the precise blood test that demonstrates whether eggs are safe for you or constructing plaque in your arteries. The test name, how to request it, how to interpret the findings, and what the numbers signify for your specific risk. If you're not subscribed, you'll continue guessing. Subscribe now so you cease gambling with your heart. Now let me describe Margaret's situation because Margaret's experience demonstrates what the unstoppable process resembles at the cellular level. What's genuinely occurring inside your arteries when you consume eggs and you're a hyper-responder. Margaret was 71 years of age. She consumed eggs for breakfast 4 times weekly. Not daily like Richard, just 4 times. Everything in moderation, she believed. Her physician checked her cholesterol annually. Total cholesterol 195, LDL 115, HDL 65. Perfect ratios. Your cholesterol is excellent, her physician stated. Continue doing what you're doing. Margaret felt validated. Her eggs weren't harming her. The numbers confirmed it. But Margaret was incorrect. Her standard cholesterol test was measuring the incorrect thing. Total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol are useful but incomplete. They don't inform you about LDL particle size and particle count, and that's what genuinely matters. You can possess an LDL of 115, which appears excellent, but if those LDL particles are small and dense, and if you possess enormous quantities of them, you're at massive risk. Standard cholesterol tests don't measure this. Advanced lipid panels do. Margaret never had an advanced panel. Nobody suggested it. What was transpiring inside Margaret's arteries? Every time she consumed eggs, her dietary cholesterol was absorbed in her intestines, packaged into lipoproteins, dispatched into her bloodstream. For most individuals, the body compensates, produces less cholesterol internally when you consume more, maintains equilibrium. But Margaret was a hyper-responder. Her body didn't compensate. Dietary cholesterol just contributed to her total load. Her LDL particle count skyrocketed after consuming eggs. Thousands of extra LDL particles flooding her bloodstream. And these particles were small, dense, the hazardous kind. Small, dense LDL particles can penetrate the artery wall easily. They slip through the endothelium, the inner lining of your arteries. Once inside the artery wall, they become stuck, oxidize, become toxic. Your immune system perceives these oxidized particles as invaders, dispatches white blood cells to eliminate them up. But the white blood cells can't process the oxidized cholesterol efficiently. They become engorged, transform into foam cells, and foam cells accumulate into plaques. This is the unstoppable process. Once a plaque begins forming, it doesn't disappear. You can decelerate its growth. You can stabilize it, but you can't reverse it completely. The damage is permanent. And every egg Margaret consumed added more LDL particles, more particles penetrating her artery walls, more foam cells forming, more plaque accumulating year after year, irreversibly. Margaret had no indications, felt acceptable. But inside her carotid arteries, the arteries that supply her brain, plaques were developing, silently, invisibly, until one day a fragment of plaque broke loose. A small fragment traveled up to her brain, lodged in a cerebral artery, severed blood flow, stroke. Margaret survived but lost speech, lost the ability to form words. She can comprehend everything you communicate to her. Her mind is intact, but when she attempts to speak, nothing emerges correctly. Garbled sounds, not words. She becomes frustrated, angry, begins crying from frustration, cannot communicate, cannot express her thoughts, trapped inside her own mind with no method to speak at 71 years of age because plaque from years of egg consumption accumulated in her carotid arteries and nobody detected it in time. Now, before I describe the third experience, before I disclose precisely which test determines if you're a hyperresponder or not, I need to address something. Some of you are thinking, but I've been consuming eggs for years and I'm acceptable. This doesn't apply to me. And you might be correct. You might be in the 75% who handle dietary cholesterol normally, but you might not be. And the only method to know is testing, not guessing, not feeling acceptable. Testing. Next week's video discloses the precise test to request, how to interpret the findings, and what to do if you discover you're a hyper-responder. If you're not subscribed, you'll continue guessing, continue consuming eggs and hoping you're in the fortunate category. Subscribe now so you cease gambling and begin knowing. Hit that subscribe button before I demonstrate the third patient experience, because the third experience is going to explain why even one egg daily can be hazardous if you're a hyper-responder. Let me describe Thomas's situation. Thomas was 76 years of age. He'd studied the articles about eggs being rehabilitated. Eggs aren't as detrimental as we thought, the headline stated. Dietary cholesterol doesn't significantly impact blood cholesterol for most individuals. Thomas felt confident consuming eggs again, but he was moderate, just one egg daily. Not two, like Richard, just one. That's conservative, he thought. That's safe. Thomas's physician checked his cholesterol. Total 210, LDL 130, borderline elevated, but not alarming. Let's monitor it, his physician stated. Try to consume less saturated fat, more vegetables, but you don't require medication yet, Thomas attempted. Reduced butter, consumed more salads, but maintained his one egg daily. That was his protein, his breakfast staple, and he felt acceptable. 2 years elapsed. Thomas developed angina, chest pain with exertion, walking upstairs, carrying groceries. His physician requested a stress test. Positive. Requested a cardiac catheterization. Found severe 3-vessel disease. His arteries were critically obstructed. Needed bypass surgery urgently before a heart attack occurred. During pre-surgical workup, they conducted an advanced lipid panel, something the primary physician had never requested. The findings explained everything. Thomas was a hyper-responder. His LDL particle count was 2,400. Normal is below 1,000. Optimal is below 700. Thomas was more than triple the normal limit, and his apolipoprotein B, another critical marker, was 145, should be below 90. The cardiologist examined the findings and stated, "How much dietary cholesterol are you consuming?" Thomas stated, "Just one egg daily. That's not much." The cardiologist shook his head. "For you, that's catastrophic. Every egg you consume creates an enormous LDL particle surge. You cannot consume eggs. Not one. Not ever." Thomas was shocked. "But it's just one egg," the cardiologist explained. "For 75% of individuals, one egg is acceptable, but you're in the 25% who respond dramatically to dietary cholesterol. That one egg is elevating your LDL particle count by 600 to 800 every single day, and those particles are constructing plaque that's about to terminate you." Thomas ceased consuming eggs immediately. 2 months later, they rechecked his advanced lipid panel. LDL particle count dropped to 1,600, still elevated but dramatically improved. Apolipoprotein B dropped to 110. Improved. Not optimal, but improved. The improvement from eliminating one daily egg was enormous, but the damage was already completed. Thomas still required bypass surgery. The plaques constructed over years of consuming eggs couldn't be reversed. Surgery was unavoidable. Thomas is 78 now, recovered from surgery, avoids eggs completely. His LDL particle count is now 900. Apolipoprotein B is 85, finally in the safe range. But he possesses scars, bypass grafts, permanent cardiac damage, all from one egg daily for years. One egg. That's all it required because he was a hyper-responder and nobody knew. Now you've heard 3 experiences. Richard consuming 2 eggs daily. Margaret consuming eggs 4 times weekly. Thomas consuming just 1 egg daily. All 3 were hyper-responders. All 3 constructed irreversible plaque. All 3 suffered devastating consequences. Heart attacks, strokes, open heart surgery. And none of them knew they were at risk because nobody tested them properly. If these 3 experiences are making you realize that you cannot continue guessing about eggs, hit the subscribe button immediately because next week's video discloses the 25 other foods besides eggs that trigger hazardous LDL surges in hyper-responders. Foods you think are healthy, Foods your physician recommends, but they're constructing plaque if you possess the incorrect genetics. Subscribe now, or you'll only possess half the information you require to protect your arteries. But before I inform you about the test that would have preserved all three, before I disclose which specific markers determine if you're a hyper-responder, I need you to comprehend something critical. Join our community. The link is below this video. Inside the community, we possess over 300 older adults who discovered they're hyper-responders. They're tracking their LDL particle counts, sharing their eating habits, posting before and after advanced lipid panels, and the outcomes are extraordinary. Stephen eliminated eggs completely. His LDL particle count dropped from 2,200 to 850 in 90 days. Sarah reduced eggs from daily to once weekly. Her particle count dropped from 1,900 to 1,100, still elevated but improved. Robert discovered he's not a hyper-responder. He can consume eggs safely. His particle count stays below 800 regardless of egg intake. The community is where you'll discover real individuals with real outcomes, real answers about whether you specifically can consume eggs or not. Join below. This is information your physician isn't providing you. So, what makes someone a hyper-responder? Why do 25% of individuals react dramatically to dietary cholesterol while 75% don't? It comes down to genetics, specifically genes that regulate how your intestines absorb cholesterol and genes that regulate how your liver produces and clears cholesterol. Most individuals possess genes that create equilibrium. Consume more cholesterol, absorb less. Consume more cholesterol, produce less internally. Consume more cholesterol, clear more from your blood. The system self-regulates. Blood cholesterol stays relatively stable regardless of dietary intake. These are the fortunate 75%. They can consume eggs, consume shrimp, consume dietary cholesterol without significantly impacting their blood levels. But 25% of individuals possess gene variants that don't create equilibrium. They absorb dietary cholesterol efficiently. Their intestines grab every molecule of cholesterol from eggs and push it into the bloodstream. Their livers don't compensate by producing less cholesterol internally. They continue producing at normal rates, and their LDL receptors, the receptors that clear LDL from blood, don't upregulate efficiently, so dietary cholesterol just contributes to their total load. No compensation, no equilibrium, just accumulation. These genetic hyperresponders witness dramatic LDL increases from dietary cholesterol. One study demonstrated hyperresponders consuming 3 eggs daily had LDL increases of 50 to 80 points. Non-responders consuming the identical 3 eggs had increases of 0 to 10 points. Enormous difference. Same food, completely different response based purely on genetics. But here's the critical question. How do you discover which category you're in? How do you test for hyperresponder status? There are 2 methods, the direct method and the functional method. The direct method is genetic testing. You can test for specific gene variants associated with hyperresponse, APOE variants, CYP variants, NPC1L1 variants. These genes influence cholesterol absorption and metabolism. If you possess certain variants, you're likely a hyperresponder. But genetic testing is expensive, not always covered by insurance, and it's not perfectly predictive. Some individuals with hyper-responder genes don't actually respond dramatically. Some individuals without the typical genes do respond. Genetics provides you probabilities, not certainties. So the functional test is superior. The functional test measures your actual response to dietary cholesterol. And that test is the advanced lipid panel. An advanced lipid panel measures LDL particle count, LDL particle size, and apolipoprotein B. These are the markers that matter, not total cholesterol, not even standard LDL cholesterol. Those are crude measurements. Advanced markers inform you what's genuinely occurring, how many LDL particles you possess, how small and hazardous they are, how much apolipoprotein B is carrying cholesterol into your artery walls. Here's how you test yourself. Get a baseline advanced lipid panel. Fast overnight. Get blood drawn in the morning. Measure LDL particle count and apolipoprotein B. Write down the numbers. Then consume 2 eggs daily for 30 days. After 30 days, repeat the advanced lipid panel. Compare the findings. If your LDL particle count increased by more than 300, you're a hyperresponder. If apolipoprotein B increased by more than 15, you're a hyperresponder. If particle count and APO barely changed, you're a non-responder. You can consume eggs safely. Let me describe Patricia's situation because Patricia's experience demonstrates the power of this testing. Patricia was 69 years of age, loved eggs, consumed them almost daily, but she'd heard conflicting information. Some articles stated eggs are acceptable, others stated they're hazardous. She was confused, worried. She came to me asking, "Can I consume eggs or not? I require a straight answer." I informed Patricia we'd test her, get objective data, cease guessing. We conducted a baseline advanced lipid panel, LDL particle count 1-200, a polypoprotein B95, borderline elevated but not terrible. I had her consume 2 eggs daily for 30 days. Nothing else changed in her eating habits, just added 2 eggs daily. After 30 days, we repeated the panel. LDL particle count 1050, APO 125, massive increases. Patricia was clearly a hyperresponder. The data was unambiguous. I demonstrated Patricia the findings. You cannot consume eggs. Your body responds dramatically. Every egg you consume adds hundreds of LDL particles to your blood. Those particles are constructing plaque in your arteries. You need to cease completely. Patricia ceased consuming eggs immediately. 30 days later, we rechecked. LDL particle count dropped back to 150, APO back to 92, her baseline. The improvement was dramatic and immediate. Patricia is 74 now, hasn't consumed an egg in 5 years. Her LDL particle count stays around 900 now with statin therapy, APO around 75, optimal levels. Her arteries are protected, no plaques forming, no heart disease developing, all because we tested her, discovered she's a hyper-responder, and eliminated eggs from her eating habits based on objective data, not guessing. Compare Patricia to Thomas. Both were hyper-responders. Patricia discovered through testing before damage occurred. Thomas discovered through a heart attack after irreversible damage. The difference? Testing, knowledge, acting on data instead of assumptions. Now, let me address the question you're probably asking. If I'm a hyper-responder, does that signify I can never consume any cholesterol? What about shrimp? What about other animal products? The answer is nuanced. Eggs are uniquely problematic because they're cholesterol dense. One large egg possesses 185 milligrams of cholesterol, most of it concentrated in the yolk. When you consume 2 eggs, that's 370 milligrams of cholesterol in one meal. Enormous load. But other animal products possess less. 3 ounces of shrimp possesses 160 milligrams, a small amount. 3 ounces of chicken possesses 70 milligrams, even less. So hyper-responders can usually tolerate small amounts of cholesterol from non-egg sources. The dose matters. Eggs are high-dose exposure. Most other foods are low-dose. And small doses don't typically trigger dramatic LDL particle surges even in hyperresponders. But this varies individually. Some hyperresponders respond to all dietary cholesterol. Others respond primarily to eggs. The only method to know your specific response is testing. Measure your baseline. Add a food. Measure again. Witness what occurs. This is personalized nutrition based on data, not general recommendations, not one size fits all, your actual response to actual foods. Let me describe Helen's situation because Helen's experience demonstrates what transpires when someone tests, discovers they're a hyper-responder, and eliminates eggs early before damage occurs. Helen was 63 years of age, family history of heart disease. Her father died of a heart attack at 65. Her brother had bypass surgery at 60. Helen was worried, wanted to be proactive. She came to me requesting aggressive screening. We conducted an advanced lipid panel. LDL particle count 1E400, ApoB 105, elevated. Not terrible, but elevated. I had her do the egg challenge. 2 eggs daily for 30 days. Rechecked. LDL particle count surged to 2,100, ApoB to 135. Dramatic response. Helen was clearly a hyperresponder like her father and brother probably were. We eliminated eggs immediately, started her on a low-dose statin. 30 days later, LDL particle count was 850, ApoB 72, optimal. 15 years later, Helen is 78, no heart disease, no plaques. Recent coronary calcium scan demonstrated 0, no calcification. Her arteries are pristine. Why? Because we discovered she was a hyper-responder at 63 before damage occurred. Eliminated eggs, treated aggressively, protected her arteries before irreversible plaque formed. Compare Helen to Richard. Richard consumed eggs until 68 without awareness. He was a hyper-responder. Constructed 15 years of plaque. Needed emergency bypass surgery. Helen discovered at 63. Ceased immediately. No plaque, no surgery, no heart disease. The difference? Early testing, early knowledge, early action. This is what I desire for you. Test yourself. Discover if you're a hyper-responder or not. Cease guessing. Cease hoping you're in the fortunate 75%. No, then act on that knowledge. If you're a non-responder, excellent. Consume eggs. Enjoy them. They're not harming you. If you're a hyper-responder, eliminate them. Protect your arteries. Prevent the irreversible process before it commences or cease it from progressing if it's already begun. Now let me inform you precisely what to do. Step 1. Request an advanced lipid panel. Companies like Quest and LabCorp offer them. The test is called NMR Lipid Profile or Cardio IQ Advanced Lipid Panel. It costs $40 to $100. Insurance sometimes covers it, sometimes doesn't, but even $100 out of pocket is worth it for information that could preserve your life. Step 2. Get baseline findings. Examine your LDL particle count. Should be below 1,000. Optimal is below 700. Examine your apolipoprotein B. Should be below 90. Optimal is below 70. Write these numbers down. Step 3. If your baseline numbers are already elevated, above 1,400 particle count or above 110 ApoB, you probably shouldn't conduct the egg challenge. You're likely already a hyperresponder, and adding eggs will make it worse. Skip to step 5. But if your baseline is reasonable, below 1,200 particle count and below 100 ApoB, proceed to step 4. Step 4. Consume 2 eggs daily for 30 days. Maintain everything else in your eating habits identical. Just add 2 eggs daily. After 30 days, repeat the advanced lipid panel. Compare to baseline. If particle count increased more than 300 or ApoB increased more than 15, you're a hyperresponder. If changes are minimal, less than 200 particle count increase and less than 10 ApoB increase, you're a non-responder. Step 5. Act on the findings. If you're a hyperresponder, eliminate eggs completely, not reduce, eliminate. Every egg matters when you're a hyperresponder. If you're a non-responder, eggs are safe. Consume them without worry. Your body handles dietary cholesterol normally. Step 6. Recheck in 90 days after eliminating eggs. If you're a hyperresponder, your numbers should improve dramatically. Particle count should drop by 300 to 800. ApoB should drop by 15 to 30. This proves the eggs were the problem and removing them corrected it. Step 7. If numbers don't improve adequately after eliminating eggs, you may require medication. Statins are highly effective at lowering LDL particle count and ApoB. Don't fear statins. They're life-preserving for individuals with elevated particle counts. The benefits far outweigh the risks for those who truly require them. But here's what most individuals don't realize. This identical testing protocol functions for any food. Wondering if shrimp impacts you? Test it. Baseline panel. Consume shrimp regularly for 30 days. Recheck, witness what occurs. Wondering if cheese impacts you? Same process. This is how you personalize your eating habits based on your unique physiology, not based on general recommendations, not based on what functions for other individuals, based on what functions for you specifically. Now, I need to address something critical. Next week's video is disclosing the other 25 foods that trigger LDL particle surges in susceptible individuals. Eggs are the most dramatic, but there are others. Foods you think are healthy that might be destroying your arteries if you possess specific genetic variants. If you're not subscribed, you'll miss which foods to test next. Subscribe now. Turn on notifications. Next week could preserve you from years of consuming foods that are silently constructing plaque. And join the community. The link is below. Inside, members are sharing their advanced lipid panel findings, their before and after numbers, which foods triggered surges, which foods were safe. This is real-world data from real individuals. Stephen, Sarah, Robert, Patricia, Helen, they're all in there posting their findings, helping others interpret their tests. The bottom line is this: eggs are not universally safe. They're not universally hazardous. They're individually variable. 25% of individuals respond dramatically to dietary cholesterol from eggs. 75% don't. The only method to discover which category you're in is testing. Not feeling acceptable, not hoping you're fortunate. Testing. Request the advanced lipid panel. Test yourself. Discover if eggs are safe for you or if they're constructing irreversible plaque in your arteries. Cease guessing with your life. Thank you for watching. Test yourself. Discover your response. Protect your arteries. Join the community where we're all testing, learning, and protecting ourselves together. I'll see you next week where I disclose the other foods that matter and how to interpret your findings with precision.